Okay, so another topic, blended families. We get a lot of questions about blended families. How do you deal with blended families? What would be your advice? What would you do with blended families if the baby mama, baby daddy is not particularly nice? How do you treat the child from the other family? I mean, it's difficult. It's difficult.
I think I've had the experience. Rick has an older daughter, and it was before we met. And to this day, I've never really had the opportunity of ever speaking with the young woman that he has the daughter by. And at one while, she made it very clear to me that I had nothing to do with that. So I accepted that. From the opportunity that I've had a chance to be around his daughter, I think we have a great relationship. We're able to talk to one another, when she calls and when we get together, our relationship is really good. I don't think it's anything to do with that other person because the relationship was with them two should have any effect on the child.
Right.
Because the child didn't ask to be here. And there shouldn't be any type of attitude toward them for that reason. So I think you accept it as is.
Right.
She's a part of Rick, and I do welcome her in at any time. So we accept that as it is. A beautiful, beautiful young lady. And I think any blended family should allow the relationships to just blossom with kids you didn't even have a chance to see as they grew, but you had a chance to be a part of their life. And I think that's a beautiful experience, and it's a part of either myself or a part of Rick.
I'll just interject this. I think what she's speaking to is ideally how it should be. But obviously the parents can get caught up in their own personal feelings. And then that ends up affecting the child adversely. Instead of putting the needs of the child and understanding we need to communicate effectively, we need to parent effectively, and how do we do that and get to a place of peace where I'm not hurting, because hurt people hurt people.
Right.
And so in most cases, they don't have that understanding that we need to put aside our differences and try and do what's best for the child and entertain how do we manage our emotions and how do we then set a good example in co-parenting the child. I will say this, in our situation, I missed an opportunity. And I think when we first got married, I was doing things to try and appease my baby mom, the baby's mother. And as a result of that, it affected our relationship because I think she started to witness that. And I think it caused her to pause and pull back. So I missed an emotional connection with her trying to do things to correct this relationship that I messed up from decisions that I made. And that in turn caused her to withdraw, and I think it affected our marriage for a good period of time because that security piece that she had there, because I was devoting so much time and energy into her when we were courting, all of a sudden seemed to have been undermined by these efforts to try and correct the situation. So in blended families, and ultimately, you gotta have that vulnerability to express what's a concern with you, what's most important here, and how do we get to that place? And those are difficult conversations to have, and those people have to have, the necessary counsel they need to get beyond that emotional piece. Yes, yeah. Absolutely, absolutely.
Let's talk about this. Tony, you're a breast cancer survivor. It's 5 years, right?
Ooh, 8 years.
8 years.
Ooh, yes, 8 years.
Amen.
Yeah. And so I remember when you were going through it, when you first told me about it, man, I remember, having some discussions about some fears that you had, and the Holy Spirit just leading me to tell you it's not real, you are healed. But I know Rick was right there, like you shaved your head. Tell us about that journey. How did you
support one another?
How did you support one another?
I think I go back to saying community is a must in your life. You have to have community. You have to have that relationship outside of your marriage with your girls, that you have built, to be able to release it. My first thought of when I got breast cancer, I shared it with my family and some close friends, but I didn't want anybody else to know because I was angry. And it wasn't something that I can help, but in turn, Rick I got to tell everybody so everybody can start praying. So people he was telling was calling and say, hey, I've heard about you. And then once they tell me they heard about my breast cancer, I was angry. How did you hear? Why would you call me, for me to tell this story again? So I was having to go through that. But with Rick being there, and then we went to every doctor's appointment. Like I said, my community of women allowed him to break away from that for a minute.
Well, let me say this though. What happened was she had to tell me, wait a minute. Let me come to grips with this before you go telling anybody else about it. And again, men typically are trying to be fixers. And so what I needed to do and what she had to communicate to me was, listen to me for a minute. Let me come to grips with what this diagnosis is. And then let me communicate it in my own time. And so I had to again have that, she had to have that difficult conversation with me to tap the brake, bro. I understand you, but listen to me. So I had to listen to her and appreciate where she was in that moment. And then when she felt comfortable with sharing it with other people to invite community, then that would be her decision because she's the one that's dealing with it.
And so what was your first thought when you heard it? Like yours was anger, fear. What was your?
To be perfectly honest with you, I was, obviously when you first hear it, you taken aback, but I was kind of comfortable with the fact that I know she wasn't going nowhere. So I was already kind of the mind of living in the victory that we're gonna get beyond this. It's not an issue. So I didn't feel the fear of it. I didn't get angry with it. I was like, okay, what we need to do? What's our prognosis? What's our treatment? What are those options? What makes the most sense here? And support her in whatever capacity you can.
Yeah. So when you had to deal with your hair loss, Tony?
When the hair came, I think I went through the second treatment of chemo. And I was in the bathroom and, I was kind of combing through my hair. And as I combed through my hair, I saw a handful of hair. And I think Rick was in the closet. And he peeped around, and because I said, Rick, look. And I was showing him my palm of my hand that was full of hair. I said, my hair is coming out now. And they told me it was going to probably come out. And when he looked over there at it, he went back into the closet. And he didn't say anything to me. And I think it took him for a while to come to me and tell me what his thought was at that time. But as I began, and I started to come a grip to what was going on by the time I had lost my hair. I was losing my hair. So I was becoming a little bit more comfortable with the fact that, okay, God, I'm going to let you handle this. And I know I'm going to have a testimony. I'm going through this for a reason, because someone else is going to see me walk this journey, and I got to let them know that you walking this journey with me, and that we're going to walk through this together, and I'm going to come out on top. So I've got to let you walk through this with me. And I think that was the toughest part through it all, is that chemo of letting go, of finally hearing God, of letting Rick see how the hair part of it was coming out. And when I lost the complete hair, Rick even took me to his barber and said, hey, because at that point it was patches. And then he took me to his barber and told him, hey, just go ahead and shave it. And I sat in that chair, and when I got out, he sat in the chair. And he said, go ahead and take it off. So
let me go back to that moment that she was talking about in the closet. When I had already appreciated the fact that she was in the midst of this, but when you see somebody take a handful of hair and show it to you, that's a whole nother level.
Especially for a woman.
Especially for a woman.
Yeah.
And so for a moment when I saw it, it cut me because I can't do nothing.
Yeah.
It's nothing I can do. So in that moment,
but you wanted to.
Yeah.
Like, I wish I could.
But emotionally it hit me. And so I couldn't say nothing, and I didn't want to see her feel my pain.
Yeah.
So I had to, step back into the closet for a second to gather myself and to come back out and say, okay, I understand. So let's do what we need to do. And in supporting her, I think it was important when I got in the chair and told him to take my hair off, because, I was still trying to cling on to my little hair. I had just a little slight bald spot in the top, but I was still clinging to my hair. But so I said, this is a moment for her to understand that I'm totally with you in support of this. More importantly, when you get out that chair, going back to my original point about her being a natural beauty, that even with your bald head, you're the most beautiful woman in the world to me.
And she was cute.
She was cute. You hear me?
Yeah.
Now, she tried to rock a wig and sweat to death. And so we was clear we can't wear wigs. So we're going to have to embrace this bald head situation. So between the two of us, man, I think we got to the point where she felt comfortable that I was supporting her, and that she still was beautiful and desirable and understood what she was going through. And we in this together. And this is the whole sickness and good health and all of that richer and poor and all that kind of thing that the vows are talking about. Well, here's your time to show up, bro. Here's your time to show up.
Yeah. We're going to kind of strip on out, and we're going to talk about how did you keep the marriage from becoming stale? Because, okay, I heard this, Rick, and you tell me from a man's perspective. I heard, actually it was Tony who said it, that when you're looking for a wife, you're kind of looking for the good girl. You want the lady. But as you get older, and you may not want the good girl in the bedroom, like you want some different stuff going on than that good girl. But it's hard for the good girl to do those other things because, we're taught that good girls don't do certain stuff.
I don't know what you're talking about. Later in life, you don't want her to be that. From day one, you want her to be a lady in the streets.
And a freak in the bed.
And a freak in the bed. But you have to understand who she is.
Yeah.
And I think you spend time discovering what she's comfortable with. Because I think every man, like I said, has an idea in his head. And you can think you want to freak all the time, but that may not be what you really want. But ideally, you want her to do tricks. But every woman ain't a porn star, and she ain't gonna let you do all of that kind of stuff. So you have to have that conversation to say, this is what's important to me. And I think in that conversation, the frustration with some men, like Tanya has always been concerned about her health, staying fit, that kind of stuff.
Right.
Now, The problem with that is, in our relationship, I'm the aggressor. Now, that's problematic because I'm always chasing. And that's fine when I was a young cat because I didn't give it, I didn't care whether or not you was tired or not. I'm ready to rock and roll, baby. Let's what we need to do. So I had no problem. But as I got older, then it became a subconscious thing. Why am I always chasing you? Why am I always the one initiating? Or why does it seemingly seem like I'm the one that's initiating? Now, she's got a full-time job to her point. She got all the obligations with the kids to her point. I'm getting up at 5:30 in the morning. Mm-hmm. But I see her being creative at work. I see her being creative with the kids. But you ain't creative with me. And I ain't asking you to do nothing extra. You know, I'm a twice a week kind of guy. You know, we ain't trying to have sex every day. But twice a week seems fair and reasonable in my mind and estimation. If you can't find an hour of energy in 7 days, come on now. But you have to understand where she's coming from.
How she was raised.
How she was raised. Mm-hmm. And, you know, we were talking about it, and she's more traditional.
Yeah.
So she ain't going to be entertaining all this extra stuff. But I think that any woman who is interested in being fully satisfied. Mm-hmm. And if you have that conversation, well, what makes you happy? And what can I do to get you to that point, to make you happy? Now, when I do all of that, when it's time for me to be satisfied too, hear me. Yeah. And consider what's important to me. Because that was the problem with all in our relationship typically was she would be tired. But shit, she was doing a whole lot of stuff. Yeah. And I had to understand that. So do what you need to do to create the environment when you think you want it. And I will say this one, when you have a woman and you're having to ask her, I think that's a dangerous spot for some men to entertain. Mm-hmm. If I got to ask you more often than I don't, because then you're feeding my insecurities. Because now I'm thinking, okay, maybe I'm not satisfying you. Or maybe you don't enjoy it. Right. But that's not what you're telling me. You're telling me I'm happy. I'm seeing you seemingly have orgasms. And so.
So are you saying that in order for you to feed in order for you not to be insecure, or anyone in general, not just you, but men, they want to feel a woman be a little bit more aggressive with them?
Every man wants to feel desired. And you got to remember, if I'm in a marriage situation, you the only one that can satisfy me.
Right.
So that recognition and reality needs to be prominent in your thought processes. That you the only source, and you don't want me going outside of it. So you need to understand what's important to me. And if that's a priority, if sex is a priority to me, it's one thing if I'm a workaholic and I'm working all the time and I ain't really thinking about sex. But if I told you it's important to me for us to have sex, and I say, let's just say once a week, then you need to find a day in those 7 days to entertain it. And if you can be the catalyst for starting it or initiating it and making me feel desired, then I'm overjoyed. Yeah. I'm happy.
See, Tony said something earlier that was so deep to me. Mm-hmm. And I said, Tony, you're going to have to wait and say that again.
Now she done said that. Now. You remember it?
Yeah. He's the only one that you made.
Yeah. One of the things that I think with Rick and I didn't have many partners prior to Rick. So Rick was the guy that I knew what making love was about. And I've told him that. Mm-hmm. He's the guy that, that was sex. This is making love.
Mm-hmm. That's deep. Mm-hmm. What's the difference?
The sex is just about getting and being satisfied. The making love is the intimacy, the discussion, the talk that you desire him as much as he desire you. You feel it and you can talk through it.
It's deeper.
Coupled with the big O. Gotta have the big O.
But it's satisfying for both.
Mutually satisfied.
Yeah.
You ask each other. I mean, and you're talking, but yes, here I am years later, 40 years into knowing him, and he's the only guy that I have truly ever made love to or been made love to.
That's beautiful.
It's a beautiful thing. And I think for you to be able to maintain the passion in your relationship,
How do you do that?
It's important. It's important.
You know, one thing I would say, you've got to really kind of find yourself. And I think with me turning 40, I think I had a chance to kind of freshen up a little bit. I got past the kids. I got past the daily responsibility. And I had a chance to kind of focus on me for a moment. And I think I was feeling good. I think I was exercising. I was feeling good about myself. Mm-hmm. And so because I think I was feeling good about myself, that's how I wanted him to see me. I think I feel good. I think it's like that song, Mary J., when she say, fine, and I walk across that mirror and I'm looking and I'm like, oh, girl, you look good. And so when I pass by Rick, I'm like, boy, I know you see me. I know you see me, boy. And now I'm wearing the stuff.
I like what I see when I'm looking at me when I'm walking past the mirror.
But I'm saying, when you know when you feel good. You feel good, you feel attracted, and then, you want that acknowledgement. And I think you got to first put that into yourself in order to receive it. So I think that's one of the things, and I have to say that Rick allowed me to kind of grow in that era. You only get into your 40s once. You don't know what it's like. You get into your 50s once. You don't know what to expect. So you grow into it. The anticipation of what my life is filled with now. And I think you got to get to know yourself and appreciate who you are and like where you are, which actually brings more excitement into the marriage.
I mean, that was a renaissance period for us when she turned 40, because all of the fatigue and issues that seemingly were problematic before, all of a sudden, because she felt so good about herself, we were going out and we was, having a good time, and and every other night we was doing this and that, and so I was happy as happy. I was like, hey, this is what I'm talking about. Yes, ma'am. This is how we get to the next level. This is the catalyst to move us. And I'm saying, I'm serious when I say this. I think women can they can use their bodies to motivate a man in a way that I don't think all of them appreciate, and the ones that do probably manipulate it in the wrong capacity. But the ones that can recognize that this is important to my man, and I think this can elevate our whole lifestyle and how we appreciate and respect each other, and what I'm motivated to do as a result of that. That's where you can take that relationship to the next level, because that passion is so powerful. I mean, you see it all the time. Yeah, you see it all the time. What men will do for that. Yeah, because we sit down and watch movies all the time, and Tanya said that sex is a powerful thing. I say I'm looking at her like, girl, you don't know the half. Get on board. But I'm just saying. But I digress.
That's something that happens to a woman's body when she gets older.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's key. Like,
yeah, this changes. Changes.
Yeah.
So what changes and what stays the same over time?
I think your mind, along with the physical part of it, but the mental part of it begins to change. It doesn't take as much. Where they say You got to do this. What did it take to get her? You have to do that to keep her. No, you got to grow.
Yeah.
It's a point in time where you grow from that. I don't need that same old thing. I was young then. That was young to me to, you bring the flowers. Yeah, that's nice. And, we going out to go dancing. That's nice. But I'm more of, let's have a glass of wine. Let's put on some jazz. Let's have a real good conversation. What's on your mind? I don't have nowhere to go tonight, T. I'm off. I don't have no plans. It's just me and you. I'm the type of person that the thing I prayed about most with Rick and I is to have time. And when COVID came, 2020, it gave us time.
A lot of couples broke up.
Mm-hmm.
And ours, I think,
Got stronger.
got stronger. Because it answered my prayer that Rick was there and we had time.
Yeah. We getting ready to wrap it up. I think we've discussed a whole bunch. Let me ask this one question. Is it ever a time, because, marriage is I think everybody thinks going into marriage, you're going to have this everyday love for one another. You do love one another, but it's different.
Oh, yes.
It's different. And
Let me hold that thought. Let me interject this real quick. To her point about how you keep it, spicy and the passion alive. One of the beautiful things about when we were talking about what makes marriage so beautiful is that you've gone through all of the adversity. And when you get to the other side of that, to where we are now, the intimacy and the love is more than just the sexual element of it.
Yeah.
Because now we have gotten so connected with one another that when we do share the time of intimacy, it's more than just the sexual thing. It's that I see you in a different light than I ever have before, because now I truly understand the unconditional love that you've shown me as a result of us being together, fighting through whatever adversity, when we've gotten to the other side of it. So we went through, and now we see how the security piece has now established this deeper love, this deeper appreciation for one that makes the love stronger.
shoot, I don't even want to ask the other question. Forget it. I mean, you can't cap it off no better than that. You really can't. You gonna lead us out of here with a song? Can we fade it on out for Valentine's? Anything. I'm putting you on the spot. I tell you, I do this all the
No,
time.
I'm raggedy. Compliment what she does. Give her roses just because. If it's violins she loves, let them play. Dedicate her favorite song and hold her closer all night long. Love her today, find 100 ways.
That's a wrap, y'all. Happy tea time. See you next time.